Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Sifas, and in this video I'm going to guide you through the building of this simple note-taking application I've named as Notelog in order to help you learn how to make basic CRUD operations in Django. CRUD meaning create, read, update and delete. Now what we'll be doing is to first set up our project. We'll make use of the Python virtual environment, then we'll move on to learn the CRUD operations by building the Notelog application. So what you'll be needing for this project is to have Python 3.7 or higher installed, because with that comes pip, which will be our package manager or package installer, which we use to install a package we will later use in the building of this application. For code editors or IDEs, you can go with VS Code, PyCharm, Sublime, Atom, but I recommend use an editor with an integrated terminal. For browsers as well, you can use Google Chrome, Mozilla. If you're on Mac, you can use your Safari, any browser of your choice. Alright, next we move on to get our project set up. And before I do that, I'll show you my GitHub repository where you can clone this project. So in case you're having any challenges following the video, you can always cross-check to make any corrections you want to make. Alright guys, so this is the GitHub repository containing the finished project. I have the instructions here to get it set up when you clone it. So I'll leave a link in the description to this repository. Alright guys, let's first look at the project we'll be building. This is the Notelog application. On the home page, we have all the notes listed here. When you click on any notes, you should be taken to the detail page where you can edit a note. And then we also have a delete functionality here where you can delete, but you may be taken to a confirmation page first whether you want to delete or cancel. So you can cancel, and you can also create new notes here. So it's a very simple application we built in order to learn the CRUD functions in Django. Okay guys, for the first part of our project setup, we just want to go into a directory on your system where you want to have this project. Then you create a new folder to contain the project. I'll name my new folder as Notelog. What you want to do next is to open this folder in your editor. So that's what I'll go on to do next. Alright guys, I have the folder open in my editor. What I want to do next is to open my integrated terminal and go ahead and create a Python virtual environment for our project. I want to create a Python virtual environment. We use the command py-m venv. Then we give a name to our virtual environment. I'll name mine as env. Alright, after creating your virtual environment, the next thing you want to do is to activate it. Now to activate it, you first want to type in the name you give to the virtual environment. I gave it a name of env, so I've typed it in there. Then /scripts, then /activate. Now you should have the name of your virtual environment here on the left side in a parenthesis. Okay, this means that it has been activated. Now the next thing we want to do is to install Django using our package manager pip. So we'll do that by using the command pip install Django. Alright guys, so now with the installation done, we want to go ahead and create your Django project. Now we'll do that using the command django-admin start project. And we give it the project a name. I'll name mine as Notelog. Okay, so the project has been created for us. Now what we do is to go ahead and minimize our terminal. Then we look at the files or folders created for us with all the commands we've run. Alright guys, you should have two folders created for you. One with the name of your virtual environment and the other with the name of the project, the name you gave when you run the Django admin start project command. Now in the Notelog folder, you realize that the sub folder in there has or bears the same name, so we want to change the name of the first one. So you change the name of the very first one to source. Okay, now the sub folder is actually our main project folder. It contains the settings file, the URLs file, and outside that we have the manage.py file that allows us to run the local server Django providers. Now in the settings.py file, we have the configuration for our project. We have the list of installed apps here, where the way Django works is that when you create a project, you need to create apps to handle the different sections of your project. So in this project, we will create an app of the name nodes to handle the creation of nodes, the deleting, and other functions or operations we want to run on the nodes. Okay, so when we create that app, we want to come back here into our settings file and then add it to the list of installed apps so that Django will recognize that we have this app in our project. Also in the settings file, we have the middleware, we have the root URLs, the root URL here, we have the templates. You can specify the different directory to store them. We have databases here. Django provides SQLite database for local development. You can use other databases as well. You can configure Django to use other databases as well. We have password validators here for authentication. We have the language code, the time zone, and at the bottom we have the static URL that allows us to store static files like our CSS files, JavaScript files, and images. Now the urls.py file, this is where when you create an app, you want to come here and include the URL patterns you have in that app here so that Django will recognize them. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create our notes app. Alright guys, let's open our terminals. Make sure you have your virtual environment activated, and also make sure you are in the source folder. Okay, now what we want to do here is to create our notes app, and we'll do that using the command django-admin and then start app. Then we want to give it a name of notes. Okay, with the app created, we want to minimize our terminal and then go back to the settings.py file. In the list of installed apps, we want to add our note to it so that Django recognizes that we have this notes as part of our project, notes app as part of our project. So we want to add it to the list of installed apps. So notes. Okay. Now when you come here and open the notes folder, you realize that there are quite a few files here. We have the admin.py file here that allows us to register our models. The models contain model structured applications data. We also have the views here that handle URL requests. So with that said, let's go ahead and create a new file which we'll call urls.py that will handle contain the URL patterns we need in our notes app. Okay, next we'll come to our models.py file and then create a model, a note model, which we use in our app. Alright guys, so in our models.py file, let me go ahead and paste in what we'll be needing here. You can just pause the video and update your file. Now over here, I've made one more import from django.utils. I've imported time zone and created a notes model here. So a class of name notes, extending model from models. I have a title here. I want a title for the notes, and it's going to be a character field of max length 50. We have a text field here and a date, which will be a datetime field that will be provided for us by default. So we are making use of time zone.now. So we want the dates to be provided by default for us. We don't want to have the headache of providing the date and time anytime we create a note. Now for the string class, we want it to always return the title of each note that is created. Now for the meta class or class meta as well, what we are doing is changing the ordering behavior of our notes model, so that any note that is created now is displayed on top, and the older notes are displayed below. Okay, so just update your models file and save. Then we move on to our admin.py file where we register our model here. So what we want to do is to first import the model into the admin.py file. Okay, so now that we have our model imported, what we want to do is to use admin that has already been imported for us .site. We want to register our note model here. Okay, so with this done, the Django admin site will recognize that we have a note model in our app. Now, what we want to do is to open our terminal, run or make migrations and run them. Then go ahead and create a super user for our admin system. Then run our server. Then we can go to the browser and view the admin site. Alright guys, I have my terminal open. Always make sure your virtual environment is activated, and then also make sure you're in the source folder. Now we want to run the command py manage.py make migrations. So py manage.py make migrations. Then when that is done, we want to run py manage.py migrate. Okay, so this also applies migrations for the auth sections or the authentication in Django, and also the admin system. We also have migrations for our notes. Okay, now what we want to do is to create a super user. We'll do that by running the command py manage.py create super user, one word. So py manage.py create super user. Okay, you'll be asked to provide a username, so you go ahead and do that, and then name your address. Then you provide a password and confirm it. Okay, so that's an account will be created for you as a super user. Now we want to run our server, so we'll do that by using the command py manage.py run server. Okay, so we'll go on to we'll open our browsers to view the admin page. Okay guys, so when you visit the URL that the server is running at, you should have this page, or you should see this page, and this is the page telling you that you successfully installed Django and everything is working fine. Now to go to the admin page or the admin panel, you want to come to the URLs and add a /admin. Okay, this will take you to the Django main page, and you'll be asked to log in. So you provide the username you gave when you were creating your super user account, and the password as well. Okay, so this should take you to the admin page, and as you can see, because we registered our note model to the admin page, we have a section for the notes. We also have users here. You should find your account here as a super user. Like I told you, you'll be given a staff status. Okay, let's go back to our home page and to the notes. What we want to do is to create a few notes here that up next we'll create our home page, and then we'll display the notes we'll create here. So just some test notes, just a few notes. I'll go ahead and create 2 notes. Alright guys, so I've created 2 notes, all with some random text in there, and like we provided in our models, we stated that we want a default date and time, so those fields are provided for us. All you have to do is to just provide your text and also a title. So just create, like I said, just create some notes that we'll use in our home page. So up next, we'll go back to our editors and then get our home page set up. All right, guys, I'm back in the editor and in the views.py file. Before we move on to creating our views, let's make these two imports. First, from django.views, we want to import generic. Then we want to bring in our note model. So from .models, we want to import the note model. Okay. Now, for Django views, we either use class-based views that extend Django views from generic, like the detail view, the list view, or the update view, the delete view, the create view. And with function-based views, we use them when we want to provide custom logic for a view. So for our homepage, we'll be using a function-based view, so that I'll have the opportunity to talk about the query APIs that come with Django models. So let's go ahead and create a home view. So we'll create a function with the name of home view, which will take in a request. And we want to display the list of all the notes that have been created. So the notes we just created in that main site, we want to display them on our home page. So we want a notes list, and this is where I show you the query API that comes with Django models. So with the query API, you can make queries on a model to either grab all the objects of a model, or you can also make filtrations or exclusions to grab specific objects of the model you want. So it's a very useful API that comes with Django models. Okay, so we have our notes list here. So we want all the notes objects from the notes model for our notes list to be our notes list. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is to provide this notes list as a context to the templates that will render for our home view. So we have to create a context which will contain our notes essentially being our note list. Now what we want to return is the render function that has already been imported for us. So render that has been imported for us at the top here. So the render function, which will take in the request that comes to this view, and then we want to specify where our template will be. Now with Django, when you want to create templates, you for your app, you want to create a templates directory, and inside that directory, you want to create a folder that bears the name of your app. So in specifying where your template will be, you want to put in the name of the app itself, because you create a folder that will bear the name of the app, and in that folder, that's where you put in your template files. Okay, so the name we give to our template for the home view will be home.html. Then we want to bring in the context so that the template will have access to the notes, which is essentially our note list. Okay, so this is our home view. Just pause and update your view to what I have here, and just save. The next thing we want to do is to go to the urls.py file. So over here, the first thing we want to do is to import from Django.urls. We want to import path. Okay, then we want to bring in our home view. So from .views, we want to import the home view. Now we have to create a URL pattern list that will contain all the URLs or the URL paths we will have in this app. We will create a URL patterns list or array, and then we want to create a path for our home view, since for now we only have one view. So we use the path that we just imported. Then since it's our home view, we leave the URL empty, and then we bring in the home view. Then we give it a name of home. Okay, so this is all for our urls.py file. Now, what we want to do is to create our templates, being as we specified here in the views file. We said you create a template that will be in the notes folder, and we give it a name of home.html. So, like I told you, we have to create a directory with the name of templates, and inside the templates directory, we will create another directory or a folder with the name of our app. So our app bears the name of notes, so we'll give the folder a name of notes. Okay, now in this notes folder, this is where we want to create our HTML file, our templates file. So we said we create a file with the name of home.html. Now, for templating, Django provides a templating system to make things very easy for us. So with this templating system, what we can do is to create a base HTML file that will contain the basic layout of our project, so that our homepage template can just extend that base HTML file and have the basic layout without having to type the whole HTML structure in there. So it's a very useful system or functionality Django provides us, the templating language or system that helps us to reduce the amount of HTML markup we will have in our project, or helps us to not repeat so much of HTML markup all over our templates. So to create the base HTML file I'm talking about, instead of creating it in the notes folder, we want to rather create it outside the notes folder. So directly in the templates directory, we want to create a new file, HTML file, which will give it a name of base.html. Okay, so this base.html will hold the basic layout of our project. Alright guys, so before we move on, we'll be making use of Bootstrap in this project, Bootstrap CSS, to make styling much easier, so that we don't dwell so much on that. So just come to Google and search for Bootstrap. You should have this as your first link, and just click on it. You should be taken to the Bootstrap home page. And what you want to do is to click on the Get Started button here, and then scroll down. You should be taken to the introduction page. Scroll down, and you should find the starter template section. Now we want to copy this and make use of it in our base.html file, because it will contain the link to Bootstrap CSS and the JavaScript files it will need to run. So we'll just copy it and make use of it in our base.html file. Alright guys, I'm back in the editor, and in the base.html file, I've gone ahead to add the starter template we just copied, and I've made some changes and additions. I've taken away all the comments that were in there. Now the first thing you notice is this tag here, the low static tag here. This is because I've brought in a static file, being a CSS file. And so just like our templates, in order to work with static files, you need to create a directory in your app, which you name static, and then in that directory you create a new folder with the name of your app. So I created a folder that bears the name notes, and in that folder, just like our templates, I created a file, the static file, and in this case it's a CSS file I named main.css. So in order to make use of it in our templates, we first have to load the static files. Then we can use the static tag here and specify that it's in the notes folder, and the name of the file is main.css. Now I've changed the title as well to bear the name of our application notes log, and in the body I have a very simple section here. It has an ID of main, a vertical margin of 5. This is a Bootstrap class because we are using Bootstrap in our projects. And in the section we have a container that holds a row. The row has a column of size 6 on the larger screens, and in the column we have a div here that holds our project title wrapped in an anchor tag. We also have a new button here that will later make use of to go to a page that holds a form which we use to create new notes in our project. Below that, we have another div here which bears a block of name content. Now in our home.html file, we will extend this base HTML file in order to get this basic layout we've created. Now we've put in this block here because we want this div here to hold the dynamic content, being whatever we want to display on each page. And now with this block in our home page, when we make use of it, you don't need to retype this HTML structure we have surrounding this block in the base.html file. This makes our work very easy. We don't repeat HTML markup all over in our templates. Now below the block, we have this simple copyright text. Okay, so this is all for the home page, or sorry, the base.html file. Now in the CSS file, if you go ahead and add it, I have this simple styling here just to add up to what Bootstrap provides for us. So you can just pause or make use of the final projects on my GitHub repository and just add in the styling. So same for the base.html file. Just pause the video and make the additions I have made here. Okay, so just pause the video and make those additions and let's continue. Alright guys, before we move on to our home HTML file, let's go back into our main CSS file and make this correction for this styling here. The notes list box, we want to change it to notes container. So change that to note container. Then we can go into our home.html file and work on our home page. Now let me go ahead and paste in what we'll be needing here. And so like I said, we will need to extend the base.html file to bring in the basic layout we've created in there. Then bring in the block here. And in the block, we have a paragraph tag here with text your notes. And below that, we have a for loop displaying all the notes we've created, the ones we created in our admin site. And I'm sure you'll be wondering where these notes come from. And remember that in our views, we pass in a context. So we pass in a context of notes, which contains our notes list. So it is this context we have access to in our template. So that's what we are running the for loop on to display each and every note. Now we are displaying the notes title and the note text as well, but due to our styling, when we go into the browser, or just like you saw through the project walkthrough, not all the text is being displayed due to our styling. So we later need to create a detail page to view the text in full detail. Okay, so this is all for our home page. We are extending the base HTML file. We have our block here. Then we have this simple paragraph tag here. Then we have a for loop that we are using to display all the notes that have been created. So just update your file to what I have here and save. Then what we can do now is to make sure our server is running in our terminal. Then we can go to the browser to view our home page. Alright guys, before we go to the browser to view the home page, I forgot to do something. We have to add the URL patterns we created here to our main URLs file here so that Django recognizes that we have this URL patterns in our project. So we should have done that straight away after we created the URL patterns, but it escaped me. But we can just do that now so that we don't have any issues when we go into the browser. So let's go to our urls.spy file in our main project folder. So we'll go to the urls.spy file here. And over here, what we want to do is to first import include. And this will help us, like the name suggests, include the URL patterns in our notes app here. So just above the path for our admin, we want to bring in path. And because this URL patterns holds our home page or our home URL, we just leave the URL empty as well. And then we'll want to use the include function here and include the URL patterns we have in our notes app. So you state your notes.urls. Okay, so make sure you import include, then put in the path here, you leave it empty, and then we use the include function to bring in the URL patterns we have in our notes app. So with this done, we can make sure our server is running again or still running. Then we'll go to this URL here. This is where the server runs, the URL at which the server runs. Then we'll be able to view our home page. Alright guys, so in your browser, make sure you visit the URL at which the server runs, and you should be taken to the home page. This is what you should have as your home page now. And you can see our notes are being displayed here. So this is what you should have, and this is the basic layout we created in our base.html file. So up next, what we'll do is to create a detail view for each note, so that anytime we click on a note, we'll be taken to a detail view to view the notes in full. So that's what we'll do next. Alright guys, let's move into our views.py file. Now for our detail view, we'll be using a class-based view because we want to extend the detail view from Django that will come from the generic that we've imported here. So we'll create a class-based view, a class of name notes detail view, and we want to extend the detail view from generic. Now for the notes detail view, what we want to do is to pass in a model. So we'll pass in our note model here, and then we want to pass in a template, and then we'll provide a template name where we want to specify where the template will be. So we said our template will be in our notes folder inside our templates directory. So inside notes, we want to create an HTML file which we name notes underscore detail.html. Okay, so this is the name we'll give to our template. We'll give it a name of notes underscore detail. And that's all for our detail view. We'll provide a model and then the template that we want to be rendered. Now let's go into our urls.py file and create a URL path for our detail page. What we want to do is to first import the view, so notes detail view. Then in the URL patterns, we want to add up to our home URL path, and we'll create a path. And this time around, we'll give it a URL of notes / and for our detail view, we want to take in the primary key of each and every note. So primary key will be an integer int, and pk will be the name. We take in the primary key and provide the view, the notes view here, detail view. Then we give it a name, but remember to always specify your class-based views as a view. So note detail view dot as view here. Then we give it a name of note detail. Okay, now you'll be wondering why we want to take in the primary key. This is because when we put in the primary key here, the node detail view will take the primary key we provide in our URL and then query our model here to fetch the object that bears the same primary key or has the same primary key as what we've provided in our URL. And that object, when it's fetched, will be passed in as a context to our node detail with the name of the model. Being a single object, it will bear the name of notes, and then it will be passed into our notes detailed HTML file as a context, which we can use to display the full detail of the notes. So with that said and done, and we want to create our template. So go into our template directory inside the notes folder. We'll create a new file which we'll call notes underscore detail.html. So we'll go ahead and put in what we need here. Alright guys, so this is what we'll be needing for our notes detailed HTML file. We want to extend the base HTML and then bring in the block. We are displaying the title of the note here in this header heading tag. Remember, we are getting the note from our view because it is passed in as a context. Remember, when we passing our primary key, the primary key of a note into the URL. The detail view will take it and query the model we've provided here, and the object that is fetched that has the same primary key as what we've provided in the URL is passed in as a context to the template, and this context will bear the name of our model. So that's why we have access to that in the node detail page, and we are using that to display the title and then the text in full here. Now below that we have two links here, or two buttons, which will later get functioning when we create the update and delete views. Now the next thing we want to do is to go into our models file, and we want to bring in or add one more method to our note model, which we'll call the get absolute URL method. Now this will help us to easily navigate to the detail page of every note. So let's go ahead and add this model to it. This method, sorry. So we'll create a method which we call get absolute URL. We want it to return reverse. We've not imported it yet, so let's go up here and import. So from django.urls, we want to import reverse. Okay, so we want to reverse to our note detail page anytime this function is called upon. Remember, we gave our note detail URL a name of note detail. Okay, so in the models we want to return there, and we want to provide a primary key as part of the quirk so that the URL will have access to that. So in the quirks we want to provide a pk, which will be equal to at self. We get that from self.pk. So this is all for the get absolute URL method. Now we want to make use of it in our home page when displaying all the notes. Once them, anytime we click on them, we should be taken to the detail page. So here in the href, we want to add make use of the notes get absolute URL method in our note model. So for every note, we want to get the we want to make use of the get absolute URL method. So anytime we click on a note on our home page, we should be taken to the detail page. Okay, so let's pause and make the updates to the node detail page, the home page, and the models, and your views, and also your URLs as well. Okay, so now let's make sure our server is running. We'll go to our browser, and then we'll check whether when we click on any notes, we'll be taken to the detail page or not. All right, guys, so just refresh your home page so that the changes will be applied to it. Now when we click on any note, we should be taken to the detail page where we can view the notes in full, especially the text, because on the home page we are not seeing everything. So when we click on a note, we should be taken to the detail view to view everything in full. Now this is all for the detail view. What we'll be doing is to make this button active, this new button active, so that when we click on it, we'll be taken to a page where we'll have a form to create new notes. So we'll move on to create the note create view. All right, guys, I'm back in the editor, and I have my terminal open, because before we move on to our note create view, there's a package I want us to install, and the name of this package is Django CRUD. What it does for us is that it renders our forms already styled in Bootstrap, so that we don't have to spend time doing that. So let's go ahead and stop our server, and then we'll use pip to install this package. The command for doing that is pip install django-crispy-forms. Okay, so I already have this installed, so just wait for yours to finish installing. When it's done, just minimize your terminal, and then move back to your settings file. Into the installed apps list, we want to add it here so that Django recognizes that we've installed this package. So we'll add it by using crispy django-crispy-forms. Okay, then you can scroll to the bottom of the settings file and then add this to it, crispy template pack, and this will be bootstrap 4. Okay, so we want the crispy forms package to use bootstrap 4 to style our forms for us. Okay, so with this done, we'll go into our views and get our node create view done. All right, guys, so once again, we'll be using a class-based view for the node create view. So below our node detail view, we want to create a new class with the name of node create view, which will extend Django's create view from generic. Okay, so we want to pass in our model, which is nodes, and then because the create view, we want to have a form to be able to make new nodes. We need to specify the fields for our form, and so for the fields, we only want the title. So we want the title and the text field. So text field, these two fields for our form. Then we want to specify our template name, where the template will be found. So notes, and we'll give our template a name of notes_create.html. So that will be the name of our template. Now, what we want to do next is to provide a method called getSuccessURL. Now, what we want to do with this is that anytime a note is created, we want to be taken back to the home page to see that it has been added to the list of notes already in our system. So we want to come down and create a method which we'll name getSuccessURL. Okay, and then we want it to return reverse. Okay, so I think we've not imported reverse, so let's come to the top. And from django.urls, we want to import reverse. Okay. So, like I said, we want to go back to the home page. So you want to reverse to our home page. So this is all for the getSuccessURL method and our node create view. Now let's go into the urls.py file as well. We want to import the view, the node create view. So node create view. And then our path for this view is going to be similar to our node detail view, so we can copy and paste it. And let me align this properly. Okay, so the changes here is that after the primary key, we want to add slash. No, we don't need a primary key here because we are creating a new node, so we can take away the primary key and then put in create. So node/create, that will be the URL for our view. And then we want to change the detail view here to node create view as a view. So as a view because it's a class-based view. And we want to change the name to node create. Okay, so this will be our node create view URL path here. So now with this done, what we have to do is to update our here in the base.html file, so that anytime we click on it, we'll be taken to the node create page. And we'll do that by bringing in the URL tag here, the percentage sign URL, and we want to go to the node create view. Now let's close our tab. What we have to do next is to create our templates. So we'll open, we'll go to our templates directory, and inside our notes folder, we'll create a new file, which we'll call notes_create.html, just like we specified in our views. All right, so let me go ahead and paste in what we'll be needing here. Now, as usual, we'll extend the base HTML file. Now, the new thing here is to bring in the crispy forms package we just installed. In our blog, we have a paragraph tag with the text of write a new note, and below that we have a form here, and we have this token here, the CSRF token, the cross-site request forgery token. to protect our form in our site. And then we have the form being rendered by the crispy forms package here. We also have a submit button. And if you are still wondering where we are getting this form from, in our views, like I told you, when providing the note, Django will create a form from this note, so what we call a model form, and it will create the fields will be what we've specified here, and this form will be passed as a context to our template, and the name of the form will be form. So that's what we have access to in our note create template here. So we are using the package Django CRUD to render our form so that it will be styled by Bootstrap for us. And then we have this submit button. Anytime we fill those fields and submit, it should create a new form. And because we provided the get success URL method for our view, anytime we create a view, note in the node creates view and submit, we should be taken to the home page. Okay, so let's update these two files. Note creates HTML file, your base HTML file, the URL here for the new button or the new link here. Make sure you add the URL to take you to the node create view, and then make sure you have the node create view in your views file, and your URLs to make sure you've imported the view. Then you have a URL path for it. So let's save all these files, and then make sure our server is running. We are not running our server at the moment, so let's go ahead and run it. Py manage.py run server to run our server. Then we can go into our browser to check out the node create view. All right, so in your browser, just refresh the home page, and now when you click on the new button, should be taken to the node create view where you have this form, it's a title field and a text field, and a submit button, so that when you create a form, you can submit. So let's go ahead and create a new form. So I'll give it a name of test and some random text here. And let's go ahead and submit. We should be taken to the home page. Yes, okay. So everything is working. When we click on it, we should be taken to the detailed page as well. Okay, so this is all for our node create view. Next, we'll go ahead to create the update view, very similar to the node create view. And then after that, we'll move on to the delete view, and that will bring us to the end of this tutorial. So we'll go back into our editors and create our update view. All right, guys, so our node update view is going to be very similar to our node create view, so we can go ahead and copy it, and then below that we can paste and then make the changes we need to make to it. First of all, we don't need a get success URL, because anytime we update a node, we want to be taken to the detail page, and the detail view from Django that will extend. Anytime we update, we'll make use of the get absolute URL we've provided in our model and take us to the detail page of a node anytime we update it. So we don't need a get success URL. Now the next thing we want to do is to change the name of the template. We'll give our template a name of notes_update.html. We want to update the title and the text, so the fields will stay the same. It's our node model, so that one will also stay the same. At this time around, we want to extend the update view from generic, and then we change the name of our class to note update view, and save. Okay, so with that done, we can go into our urls.py file, and then what we want to do is to bring in the view. So we'll import the view, note update view, then we'll create a URL path for it. So it's going to be similar to the node detail view again. So we copy that, and below the node create view, we can bring that in. And for the node update view, for the URL, we want to add updates to differentiate it from the node detail view, and then we'll change the view here to node updates view. And for the name of the URL, it should be notes-updates. Okay, so that's all for our URLs. And the next thing we want to do is to go to the node detail file here, HTML template here, and update our edit button to have the URL to the note update view, so that anytime we click on it, we'll be taken to the notes update view. So we'll update our URL here to take us to the notes update view. Now the notes update view, as we saw in our URLs, will take in the primary key, so we have to provide the primary key of the notes using notes.pkey. Then with that, then we can close our tag. Now let's move on to create the templates. So in our notes folder in the templates directory, we create a new file which we name notes underscore update.html, just like we specified in the view file. Okay, so let me bring in the HTML we'll be needing here. Okay, so as usual, we'll extend the base HTML file, bring in our Django CRUD package, just like we did for the note create view, the note create view template. And then in the block, we have a paragraph tag here with update note as the text. For the form, it's just the same. The token is here, the CSRF token is here. We have the form being rendered by the CRUD package. Then we have a submit button here to submit our updates. Okay, so let's update our files, the view file, the URL, and then the notes update template here. So just pause and update, and then with that done, make sure your server is running in your terminal. Then we'll go to the browser to check it out. Okay, so in the browser, just update your home page. Now when we click on any notes and click on edit, we should be taken to the update page, which contains the form for us to update the notes. So we can change the title. We can let's just try it out, testing notes or test notes. Then let's submit. We should be taken to the detail page where we can view that we can see the change being made, or we can see that the change has been made to the notes. And so that's it. When we edit again, we should see it being done again. So yeah, this is all for our update view. It's very simple, like I told you, very similar to the notes create view. So up next, we'll move on to create the delete functionality, so that when we click on this delete button, we'll be taken to the delete view where we'll be asked whether we want to delete or not. When we click on yes, delete, we get our notes deleted. When we click on cancel, we should be taken back to the home page. All right, guys, so for our notes delete view, it will be very similar to the no create view. The only thing is that we'll not be needing the fields, and we need the success URL, so that anytime a note is deleted, we'll be taken back to the home page. Now we will not be needing the fields because we'll create our own form this time round. And so let's go ahead and create this view. So you can just copy the note create view, then below the note update view, paste it. Okay, then we'll make our changes to it. We'll change the name of the template to notes underscore delete.html. Then we can do away with the fields. And then we want to extend the delete view from generic. Then we change the name to notes delete view. Okay, so we are still using our notes model. Then we are specifying where the template will be. Then we've provided a success URL so that we'll be taken to the home page anytime we delete a note. So as usual, let's go to our URL specify page, bring in the note delete view, and then we'll create a URL path for it, and it will be almost the same as the note update view, very similar. So we can copy, paste, and make changes. So we want to change update to delete, and then the view should be notes delete view, and then the name will be notes-delete. Okay, so this is all for the URLs. Now let's go into our notes detail page, then update the href here, just like we did for the edit one. So we can copy, come here, put it in there, and then change the URL name to note delete. Okay, so with that done, we can create our template. So in the notes folder in our notes templates directory, we can create a new file, and then we'll name it notes_delete.html. All right, guys, so let me bring in what we'll be needing. Okay, so you know the routine already. So we always have to extend our base HTML file to get a basic layout, and bring in the block. Now in the block we are displaying the note title. Here the note we want to delete, bring in the title here, and then we'll be asked whether we want to delete. So we'll ask the question whether you want to delete or not. Then we have this simple form. Like I told you, we'll be creating our own form, so we didn't bring in the Django CRUD tags. Now, as usual, you should have your CSRF token. Now, our form, we have a yes delete button, which is a submit button, on which when you click, you get the notes deleted. Then we have a cancel button that has a URL to the home page, so that when you click on it, you just move to the home page, the notes doesn't get deleted. So this is all for our notes templates, no delete templates. Extend the base HTML, bring in the block, we had display the title of the notes to be deleted, ask the question whether the notes should be deleted or not, provide a form which will allow the user to delete or just cancel and move to the home page. Okay. So one more thing I want us to do is to go back to our base.html file, and then add a URL to the anchor tag that surrounds our project title, so that anytime we click on the project title, regardless of where we are in our project, whether we are in the update view or the delete view, we should be taken back to the home page. So let's add a URL to the tag that surrounds our project title. So we'll add a URL. We want to be taken to the home page. So home, and then we can close the tab. Okay, so update your note delete template file to what I have here. Save, and then make sure your server is running in the terminal, and then we'll move to the browser to delete some notes. All right, so in your browser, just refresh the page. Now, when you click on a note, you are taken to the detail page. When you click on delete, you should be taken to the note delete view, where you'll be shown the title of the notes you've clicked on to delete, and then you'll be asked whether you want to delete. So you can click on cancel to be taken back to the home page. And when you really want to delete, when you click on yes delete, the note should be deleted, and you should be taken back to the home page to see that the note has been deleted. Okay, so this is all for our delete view and the CRUD functions. Now I want us to go back to the editor so that we resolve the issue where we have the asterisks on the fields on our forms. So let's go back to our editor. Now in your editor, just add this simple CSS line to your main.css file. This will take care of the asterisks that you find on the labels in the forms, the note create form and the update form. The asterisks you find on the labels, this will take care of that. So just add this to your CSS file, save, and go back and check. Everything should be corrected. And this is all for our projects and this tutorial. I'm sure you've learned a lot. And next we'll go on to add authentication, basic authentication to this project. And so we'll be building on step by step. We'll not rush, we'll just add basic authentication to it, then we'll later move on to do other things. Okay, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.